Okay. So hello and welcome everyone. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can see everybody. There we go. Welcome. I'm Shauna Quill, the Executive Director of New York Youth Symphony, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this Artist Story Series. This is our fourth webinar, and we are delighted to be hosting this in partnership with the New Jersey Youth Symphony. This has been a wonderful collaboration for the first time between our two organizations, and we are here to start conversations. And no better place to start those than with our artists such as Carmen Floyd, who has been one of the guests to our musical theater program, as well as our trustee, Rima Vargas Vetter. I'll just do a brief intro and let everybody get going. Rima is an artist herself. She's multifaceted, a dancer, an actress, a model. And she has been a board member at least since I started almost 9 years ago. And we have become fabulous friends. And I'm so excited to have her being the interviewer for Carmen, because I think she speaks much more articulately, much more articulately than I do, and just has really great insight. So I am so excited to turn this presentation over to Rima. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. That's a very kind introduction. I'm very excited because, well, welcome to all of our viewers, but I'm also very excited because I've had the pleasure of listening to Carmen for days and days and days now, and it really is, what a joy. So welcome everybody, and obviously thank you very much for choosing tonight to spend your evening with us. Before we start with Carmen, I would just like to mention it's just a lovely list a partial list of her credits. Broadway, Chicago, she has Chicago, Avenue Q, The Lion King, Gershwin's Porgy and Bess, After Midnight, Hello Dolly, Promenade, and she works on television as well. And her instrument is her voice. And I am very taken with that as an instrument. It's a very special and incredible thing. And so welcome, Carmen. We're also excited to hear your journey.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're very lucky. So we were sort of talking about the amazing thing of when did music become an integral part of your life? When did you say, this is it?
This is it. Well, my mom is one of 17 children. And that's correct. One by one, no twins, nothing like that.
That's a big family.
And from my grandmother. And she believed in her garden. That's what she called her children, her garden, her seeds. And she saw that the first 4 or 5 had musical abilities. And she put them in a group and they played a couple instruments and they harmonized very well. So she made them a gospel choir, basically. And so they sang, around the country and everything like that. And so I was literally born into that part of my journey. I am an only child, but the nieces and nephews, so everybody, who had children after my mom became the second generation. They were called the Gales family singers, so we were called the second generation. And so I started singing in that group with them. So that's how I really just started into performing or into singing. And then I basically, I went to, school. That's my 3-year-old, if you hear him. I started in high school, really, as this could be a career. My first voice teacher, Mrs. Greenan, as a freshman, heard me singing at the top of my lungs at 7 a.m. in the morning. And she'd tell me, oh, you shouldn't do that. And I was like, but I can.
Interesting.
I can, why not?
Yeah.
And then she told me, and she brought me aside, she's like, I'd love to give you vocal lessons. And I said, okay. So for 4 years, she gave me vocal lessons while I was in high school. And then a little later, I got a scholarship to college for musical theater. And basically between my junior and senior year in high school, it became clear that this could probably be a career for me to perform. And my dad is not a singer, but he appreciates music. So what I like to tell people is that AMC, American Movie Classics channel, was something that my mom and dad and I could all agree on. So we could watch the Westerns together. We would watch the old black and whites. We would watch, Marilyn Monroe's one of my favorites. We would watch her. And then we would watch the big MGM musicals. So that was a station that we all could agree on and watch from when I was little to up until I went to college. So that's pretty much how it started. And he also introduced me to the 60s, 70s music. So the Janis, the Jimi Hendrix, the Queen, and the Doors, and also just a sidebar, because my mom, the way she grew up, I wasn't really allowed to listen to secular music. It was either gospel or the soft rock station, smooth jazz. That's what I was allowed to listen to. And then when I got to high school, I started to sneak stuff.
Yeah,
but
that's you in high school.
Yeah, I started to sneak stuff.
That's really, and you're an only child. That's really amazing to come from a family of 17.
I think my mom was like, that's enough. I think I'm done.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. Well, it's fun because when we were sort of communicating, in an odd way, was always your life plan, even if you hadn't made a plan, because you were it seems like you were surrounded with, not only surrounded with music, but people who appreciated it, who really had opinions about it. So it's nice because you kind of get shaped in a very safe environment.
Very much so. I mean, there were some things, who doesn't have, things. The high school I went to was an all-girl Catholic high school. I'm not Catholic, but my dad, very much into education. He found this program. I'm from Buffalo, New York. He found this program called Buff Prep, which takes minority students who are very smart. I used to be very smart, you guys.
You look like I'm looking at this resume. You're very smart. We don't have to worry about that part.
Like math and English, the science were my things. And they would give scholarships to private high schools through the program. You complete the program and you see which school. So that was a shift for me, going first of all to Catholic school into all girls school. And it was predominantly white. And when I did, go in some, I heard things like, she has a great voice, but she's Black and the musical is this. Little stuff like that. And I, because of the way I was raised, and I have, I guess now 67 first cousins, I know all kinds of personalities. And it fazed me for a second, and it was like, I'm moving on. My mother put so much into me to go to this school, and I worked so hard to get in here. I'm not going to let these little comments deter me. And I got into the shows, and then I got a lead. So you need those things for pushes. Sometimes you need those no's so you can push through to say, oh yes, I can.
Well, and it's also nice that you had a base that believed in you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it's hard to be one of a kind, but
yes, definitely.
It's also the nurturing, which presumably actually keeps going on from generation to generation. That makes a big difference in people.
Yeah, it's huge difference. Support. Yeah, support.
And underestimate good solid supports. So I was going to ask you, if your parents were okay, if your family was okay with you going into theater.
Well, yeah, we had my dad used to play for the ABA. So he was a professional basketball player. and he also played in Europe. So my mom played basketball. That's how they met. He was her coach in college. So basketball was also a big part of my life. And I played pretty well. They called me Baby Barkley. I like to, throw bows, and I was, a power forward. Yeah, I was like, Yeah. I, enjoyed the sport. But my junior year of high school, first of all, you're not supposed to take off a year of anything like basketball, football. You don't take a year off. But I wanted to try out for the all boys musical. So you get the girls from all girls schools to go, and vice versa. Yeah. And my dad's like, well, when is it? I was like, well, it's during basketball season in the spring. It's like, well, how are you gonna do then? Do basketball? I was like, well, I wasn't gonna do basketball.
Eek. How did that go?
And it's like, what do you mean? And like, he thought, once again, scholarships. He's thinking this, he didn't really know theater could, or, the arts could do that as well. So he wasn't too happy for a second. And then when I got the scholarship to college, he was okay a bit. But then I guess, I didn't tell you this. I forgot to tell you this. When we did Pippin, my sophomore year in college, and I was the leading player. We did the switch back in the Dizzy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was so cool to see it, the last time it was on Broadway. But apparently my dad got very emotional during my performance. And I think that was when we buried the hatchet. Yeah. And then of course, when I got booked Lion King, my junior year in college, he was good. He was like, oh, she's professional. Okay, great. This is great. This is my daughter. She's an actress. Yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was fun. My mom the whole time was like, yes, Bob, she'll be fine.
Yeah, but it is kind of, it's wonderful. And it's also, you're telling us this, like everybody who's a junior in college gets this or that job. Actually, that's not the way it usually works. So that's a big jump. And
yeah,
I guess when it's your child, you do,
sure,
you want your baby to be safe, and suddenly realizing that your baby is continuing to overachieve and will do so her entire life, you think, oh, it's okay. She's gonna get there. We're fine. But I think that's a very interesting thing, because I think it's very hard. I know young people who watch this, and the people in the Youth Symphony, we want them to have a safe base. We want them to be someplace where they can explore. When it's your own baby, you probably want to make sure they're really safe. So that's kind of fun. That's a nice way to get your wings.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I'm truly blessed. Thank you so much. This is great.
This is working. Along this way, did you ever play any musical instruments? Do people in your it's all voice, or
okay, so I can do chords, piano. I did take, we took piano growing up and then kind of faded away. But I actually played clarinet for a while in grammar school and in high school. So I did do that. And my parents got me a guitar actually a few years ago. And I never had really a lesson. So, just kind of fake the funk. Yeah. I wrote a few of my original songs on it. So, it's just kind of, just figuring out like, what would you do? What sounds good? Oh, this sounds great. So I did a few things, but I'm thinking about, because of, obviously all quarantine and everything, is getting out YouTube to, and just really getting on the guitar, just getting some basic chords and say, okay, I can accompany myself. But it really is, the body. No, nothing really more than that. Yeah.
Well, but the voice as your instrument, and certainly as a musical performer, anybody, an actor, your body and your voice are what people have come to see. So you're not sitting behind something, you're not holding something. It's different, and it's interesting that. Now that we're all kind of grounded, that we have to find other ways. But how equipped you are because you have been using your entire body to express yourself, to perform your artistry. And it's almost as if for you, you know, a lot of people, I was going to ask you this later, you know, you have the group, you have somebody behind you, a trio, a quintet, somebody, and you're singing in front, you have, you know, you've worked with the guys and everything, but they're playing their instruments. You're still the face out there. And now you're kind of thinking, well, that's interesting because how do I make that work right now? Because you have to keep, you know, keep going. It's, and it's, most people can sometimes sing kind of a couple of notes. You know, we have a little treat in store very soon that we're all going to get to hear you. It's definitely an instrument. So yeah.
Carry it with you. That's the other thing people don't seem to understand. Like, you don't just take out a guitar, you don't just piano tune it and you can play it all day long and all night. No, you literally carry your instrument, dancer, singer, whatever, like you carry it with you, and it's precious. So it's that fine line between, oh yeah, sure, I want to do that, and then like, ooh, maybe I should. You know, it's a hard balance because you want to obviously do everything and experience everything. It's like, okay, well, I have to prioritize. What do I really want to do? Is it worth it? Is it challenging? You know, is it financially good for me? Like, you just have to start to weigh those things. Like, I think just like a little later on in life, like when you're, you know, out of school or whatever, just like, I mean, you don't have necessarily things to worry about, but it's just, you have to be very conscious and not let people take advantage of you either. Like, I forget who said this, but I use it a lot. Like with the high notes, like, do you want the B in rehearsal or in performance?
Oh.
It's like, got it. Yeah. Understood. It's like, well, we need you. No. Yeah. Okay. You need it for performance. Great. It'll be there.
Yeah. That's going back just for a second to your first, the woman in high school who said, you know, you're singing out, let me give you lessons.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because now you're talking really about how do we maintain the instrument? Because if you have an instrument in a case or you have a harp, you have to know how to take care of it.
Right.
And usually, you know, you're making reeds or you're doing this or you're doing that. And each person is, and if you play a few instruments, you have to be aware of everything that needs to be done for them. And for the voice, you can't let somebody exploit it because you can't really fix it if it gets, because it's there. And it's also a very vulnerable instrument because your emotion comes through all of our voices when we get upset. So how do you?
Yeah, you're tense. It's like, if you're nervous, if something's scared, it's frightening you. Like, I post baby, I had bad acid reflux. I didn't know what was going on. I had no clue. And then it was like, you got like stuff. I was like, but you know, I was like, I take lessons. I'm, you know, what's going on? I had to check myself for that. I was like, oh gosh, okay, tomatoes, got it. Like, you know, you have to, you know, don't eat this before a show or and figuring out your diet. But like I said, I never experienced that before. But you know, motherhood is a trip. So
it's an eye opener as well.
Yeah, so like we literally had to figure it out.
And it's also the responsibility of taking care of the instrument. It's also your whole body. I mean, sometimes if the instrument is in a case, you know, you can put it down and go party, and then you can pick it up later and go home. This time you're carrying everything with you because just touching back on overachieving, if you as you are a performer, you're moving on stage, you have to hit your spots, you have to know where the lights are, there's all kinds of things. You have to have plenty of stamina because 8 shows a week, not a joke. And you've got to keep this well, but the whole thing needs to be well. And at the same time, you have to be totally vulnerable to let your body tell the whole emotional story.
People don't understand that. People do not get that. You are heightened. Like my voice teacher, Vicky Shagoyan, who I work with now, she's like, as soon as you walk on stage, before you walk on stage, you're at a heightened, you're at a heightened presence. Like you must be. It is not.
No, you can't slink on.
Even if your character is a slump, you're slumping at a heightened level of your body. And we sing, we dance, we sing. People don't understand, like, yeah, it's here, but it's your gut, it's your diaphragm, it's your hips. If your hips are tight, you gotta, and like you said, to be vulnerable and loose to let it happen. So it's a very, very fine line, and it's, if you make it look easy, you're awesome.
Well, and in a way, that's your job. You know,
right.
You do all this work, and you know, the rest of us go, "Wow, that was pretty." But
yeah, yeah,
it must be fun to do that. You think,
right?
I'm not sure I would have said fun, but that'll work.
Yeah, it's like the iceberg. You see the tip.
Yeah,
the performance. Performance.
Yeah.
The whole bulge below, the rehearsal, the, you know, the maintain, all that. That's,
and last minute changes in a show.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, oops. You know,
July, we added these lyrics. What? Okay. Great.
I got it now. Yes. Well, that's really. I was going to ask you with the transition from student to professional, but you really made that very early. You sort of.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. So going back to what you're saying, 8 shows a week. So just so I clear, junior year in high school and college, I went to open call for Lion King. Open call, people, it happens. Yeah. And it was for Toronto. They were putting up the new show after the Broadway. I think the tour was out too. And I went in for, first of all, Rafiki. I was a teenager, and they were like, "Be more motherly," and I was like,
I don't know.
And then and then I give them some, you know, attitude line, and they're like, Shinzi. I was like, yeah. And so that was that. And so for me, the biggest difference, other than like working with people from around the world, literally, we had South Africans, we had, you know, Canadians, but they were from the islands. We had people, you know, all over Canada. It was a culture shock for me, and it was great. I needed that. And also, I'm living on my own. Like, my parents are an hour and a half away, like driving, but I had my own apartment. Like, I had to pay rent. Like, I had to maintain my check, like my healthcare. Like, it was all those things. But the most simple thing that people probably don't think of is, like, when you're in college and you do a show, you do maybe 3 shows for the weekend? Friday, Saturday, Sunday? Maybe for a month. So maybe you do 9 shows in a month. Then you get to Broadway and it's 8 shows a week. You can't prepare for that. I don't know how the transition for that for me was, oh, wait a minute, I can't, oh, okay, let me figure this out, because that was the biggest difference. Because, you know, your family and friends come to those shows and it's like, oh, you know, but you're being reviewed by, you know, people, and then you're working with other people who it's a whole new world. And I was very grateful that I had that transition, that my parents were around, dealing, you know, with stage management, getting notes, you know, not from your teachers. These are from, you know, strangers. These are from new people who don't know your background, who don't know you like, you know, things at a certain time. You know, this is how they work. This is how the theater operation works. This is not school. So those little things that you probably don't think about were very integral for me. They were very, it was a lot. And I'm glad I had that around very kind people, because I was the youngest in the cast and I was only one of 2 Americans. And so I got taken care of very well. And the transition was, once again, blessed. It definitely was.
It's an interesting thing that you were well taken care of, because that is very much a theater tradition.
Yeah.
baby, whoever the babies are in the cast.
Yes, yes.
All the big brothers come out and won't let you look at the guy. They won't let you go anywhere. You can't have it. I mean, they really do. And all the women are telling you how to behave and don't wear
Yes,
that.
check-ins.
But it's an interesting thing because we often talk about the family of the families we create in the life that we lead. And I think that artistic people, artists, in whatever field they're in, they tend to, the orchestra has to be, in many ways, it's a family.
Yeah.
The band, the trio, the dancers, we're a family because we're put together and we have to accomplish something. And as you say, it's not on your own terms, it's on the terms of the greater good. So it is a lovely thing, though, to kind of come up that way.
It was very good. And then when I actually came to New York, because I came to New York with Lion King for 2 months in the ensemble, and then going to Toronto. So I had a taste of that. But when I actually did move here, I was in a show called Little Ham, Langston Hughes' Little Ham, downtown. And I was a new girl, but I was, romantic lead. And all these women and men who I had heard on these CDs, who I didn't quite know, especially from the Black community, where there's like, baby girl, like, oh, so I was like, oh, okay, hi. And like, and sometimes I didn't know who exactly, like, the faces, but I knew their names from the albums and stuff like that. And then my second major thing was crowns. And Auntie Lilius, sorry, Lilius White, Janet Hubert, Harriet D. Foy, Ebony Joanne. I was literally young Yolanda. I was the baby, and I had these legends.
Yeah.
I was with these legends, and they, it was I was just like, and my mother had said, she's like, soak it up, because you don't get these opportunities a lot. Like, these women are titans in the industry, in the arts, and they were, I mean, and like I said, I call them aunties. It was really, really wonderful. It was really, really great.
It's just as a quick aside, and you can speak better to this, when we talk about some of your body of work, that was on Broadway. There's also off Broadway. There are all kinds of other things that people do. And I don't know that until one's in the musical performing arts, they realize how important some of those things are, because sometimes you do a show that's off Broadway and just this little thing, and the next thing you know, they take it to Broadway. Yeah. But off Broadway also gives us plenty of time to meet some of the legends and some of the different kinds of productions. And it is, it's a slightly different world than Broadway. Yes. And it can be extremely nourishing, because I think sometimes there are a lot of risks taken.
Yes.
People who are the playwrights or the musicians or the composers, people take a risk because they're trying something. It's off Broadway.
Right. And with Crowns, we started at Sundance. We started at Sundance with Light of the Piazza, and I'm trying to, and in the Tropics. And I feel like there were 2 other ones, but we started there, and then Princeton, and then Second Stage, and things totally, like you said, figuring things out, like changing all the time. But like you said, it was really, really nourishing, because I hadn't been with a project like that, like creating a brand new show. That was my first time doing that. Like your name is in the book. You know what I mean?
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's what that was. And like I said, with the rest of these fabulous legends in theater. So that was great. And then so, and there's, usually Broadway a lot of times is longer lived, and off Broadway is maybe a month or 2, depending on what it is. Like Avenue Q obviously was off Broadway for a second, and then they moved to Broadway, and that's when I joined. And then they went back off Broadway for a while. It was like a couple years maybe. So that was very unique too. yeah, you get to, like you said, you get that nourishment, and you get that fulfilling, because it's kind of just, hey, we really want to do this, versus maybe just like a big show. Do you know what I mean? Like you're putting, that a revival or something like that.
Well, I'd like, if it's good with you and John, I'd like to take a moment and have everyone hear you.
Okay.
Because we're listening, but what we're now, this is the professional person, and we've got Stranger in Paradise, which
okay.
So John, it's up to you.
Take my hand, I'm a stranger in paradise, lost in a wonderland, a stranger in paradise. If I stand story-wide, that's a danger in paradise, for mortals who stand beside an angel like you. I saw your face and I ascended out of the commonplace into the rare, somewhere in space. I hang suspended until I know there's a chance that you can. Won't you answer the fervent prayer of a stranger in paradise? Don't send me in dark despair from all that I hunger for. Wide open your angel's arms to the stranger in paradise, and tell her that she may be a stranger no more. So you can see why Missionary Alice loved this song. It's ethereal, it's beautiful, it's heavenly. It's what she thought heaven would be like. Paradise with her loved ones. I saw your face and I ascended out of the commonplace into the rare, somewhere in space.
was lovely. Just- it's so amazing, and it's so clear that when you take good care and you really nurture that amazing gift, it just grows exponentially. It's that beautiful voice in high school, I'm sure was great, and look what you've done with it. No, you know what I mean? It's not, it's lovely to have a gift, but you've also developed it, and you're taking care of it, and you're treasuring it.
And I say that to anybody, because this was my my debut at Birdland. And I found out, I was like, what was going on with my voice? Because I was having issues. And that's when I found out about the acid reflux.
Oh, interesting.
Like 4 or 5 days before this, I was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I have a concert. So I was like, I didn't eat. I drank coconut water. Like, it was like, I tried to rest as much as possible because obviously I booked this way ahead of time. And just FYI, when I say missionary Alice, that's my mom. She's a missionary, and her musical that she did in high school, that's her favorite, is Kismet. So I did that song for her for the concert. I know people are like, missionary Alice, that's my mom.
That's so nice. That really is. But that's recognizing what you need to do and finding how it's going to help you. That's you know, taking responsibility.
Yes.
Because I think we all come back to the fact that talent is such a gift.
Right.
What you do, how you take care of it, it only goes so far. So, you know, figuring out what's going on in my voice, I gotta fix this.
Fix this. What's going on? Let me take my lessons. Let me, like, every show, I think every show that I do, you know, you learn something new. Like, you learn how a composer writes. So it's like, okay, he likes this, or she, a lyricist likes this kind of lyric. You learn from every single show you do. And then also, obviously, voice lessons and growing. Like, I added a couple notes, like when I was pregnant, to my my range. Just like, oh, this is great. But after, I was like, oh wait, I have to work to keep that. You know what I mean? It's but like you said, you know, it's a gift, and you know, it could be, like we know 2020 has taught us, anything can be taken away. So you just keep working at it, and you keep sharing it. Like, the whole point for me, like, I was younger, I wanted to be a doctor because I wanted to make people feel better. I wanted to heal people, but in a way that's still what I'm doing. Except it's very internal, and people will come up to you after a show and tell you what, and they're like, you must hear this all the time and get tired. Like, no, when they stop telling me, then I worry.
I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, it's like, wait, was that? Oh, okay.
I think that, yes. Could we segue from that, because into opportunities and inspirations?
Sure.
Because it is sharing the voice, sharing the inner, working it, nurturing it. We look at other people, we work with these incredible icons of our métier, and how did that, do you have a thing in particular? Were there like a particular epiphany, or?
I've had a few.
Oh.
All my teachers, all my vocal teachers everyone was essential. Like I said, my voice teacher now, Vicky, my first vocal teacher, Miss Greenan. When I did the all boys musical, Mr. Dia and Lynn Kurtzo Formata, she was the director, choreographer, and he was the MD. They were the ones that literally told me, you can make this a career. They were the ones who literally said that to me. You know, you can, and I was like, eh. And I didn't see too much that was like for me. And then people introduced me to Rent. Then I saw, I heard the Ragtime. Then I saw Lion King. Yeah. These were shows that I reflective of me and what I saw. Now, I knew back in the day, I had my first musical CD was literally, this is funny, the all black cast of Hello Dolly with Pearl Bailey and Cab Calloway. That was one of the first CDs I purchased. So I knew that.
Yeah.
But I knew that was like back in, that was heyday when they would, flip the shows around. Same with Kismet. It was, what was it? Eartha Kitt was in it. I forget the title that was, but it was all black cast. They from Kismet to that. Timbuktu. That's what it was. And so I knew those things from studying, going to the library. But Ragtime and like Lion King and like I said, Rent, seeing black faces, black bodies really inspired me. And then I was like, okay, maybe I could. But like my voice teachers were like, I said they were essential. Then seeing, the names that I knew from necessarily Broadway was The Life. The Life was the first Broadway musical I ever saw. And Chuck Cooper, Lillias White, Pam Isaacs, Auntie Sharon Wilkins-Weckl, Auntie Sharon, were all in that show. And little did I know later on, I would do a benefit with the Moss Theater and basically the whole cast of The Life. So I'm standing next to Pam singing these high, like, oh my God, this is happening. Whoa, oh my God. Like that kind of opportunity. And then when Lillias got cast in Crowns, we, during tech, just sitting around lighting, whatever, I was humming My Friend from The Life. And she chimed in with her part. And I was like, no one's gonna believe this. I'm singing My Friend with Lillias. And it was surreal because that was the first show I ever saw. And now I'm working with these people. And, my husband ended up playing the son with Chuck Cooper on Jitney. That he played the son, he was his dad. So it was just incredible, these opportunities. And then for me, I wanted to see the world. My grandmother, when she had all her kids, when I was little, she sent me postcards from Europe. She traveled the world. Like she always said, this is God's world. I'm the daughter, and this is my world too. I need to explore it and see it. So when I did After Midnight, it was crazy because we had just roster of superstars just come through that show.
Yeah.
And
so beautiful.
Yeah, it was just fantastic. And Vanessa Williams was one of them. I mean, she is America, Miss America. She is America. And she basically took me under her wing. She was like, you want to come tour with me? I know how business is, if you're not working. And I was like, sure. And the first thing I did with her or for her was I sang for her mom's 75th birthday. She's like, you sing for, I was like, yeah. I'm just like thinking, just sing happy, whatever. Because she loves Creole Love Call. And I said, great. And then her office calls me and says, oh, what's your fee? And what time do you want to go on the flight? I said, what are you talking about? I'm thinking here in New York City. The fact that she literally just came at me with, what's your fee? To sing, it's always been a charity. You know what I mean? But she knows the business. She was looking out for me. Mm-hmm. And she knows my worth. And also it was going to be in New Orleans. And I'm singing Creole Love Call in New Orleans. So that opportunity was like, that was fantastic. And then actually traveling the world with her. I've been to Japan now. We travel everywhere in America. It's been to St. Lucia twice. Like that's what I really wanted, the opportunity to just see the world. And I knew that arts would be able to get me there too. So that was just a blessing upon blessing upon blessing. And the opportunities, got to sing for the president and the first lady, like a couple times for Michelle Obama and other presidents like the Clintons. And that's, now a lot of people can't say they get to do that. So it's been fantastic opportunities for me, and I'm very grateful for that.
I think one of the most wonderful things listening to what you're saying is how wonderful that these things happen and that this really exists out in the world. And part of your sharing this story for the people who are watching, and particularly for young people, is that Vanessa Williams gave you a wonderful lesson without any lecture. She taught you about your worth. And I think that that's an extremely hard thing, because if someone sits there and says, oh, but dear, you're very pretty, you say, depending on the moment, that doesn't often work. But going about it that way and giving the opportunities, it's a gift, and it's also a recognition. She didn't give it to you, she opened that door for you to find it. And that's what you're doing. And hearing your story, that opens doors, because it's not tonight or tomorrow, we don't know when.
Yeah.
But hearing how somebody who inspires you, somebody who's done so much, but also never forgets that the door needs to be opened.
Yes.
And you also have to work hard when you get to that door, and work hard when you get through that door.
Exactly.
It's a lot of responsibility.
Yes. And
but
she's,
what a lovely way to pass on the baton, to pass on knowledge.
The hand back, that's all it is. Yeah. It's just, hey, come along. Let me pull you along. Let's come with me. And then also sometimes here, go ahead.
Well, she's gracious. She's gracious.
So, like, and I'm so appreciative of that. And like I said, like, that was life lesson. Like, you see, like, and like, I sing Creole almost at every show we do. Almost every show, she's like, you know what? I need a break. Do you want to sing Creole? Okay. Like, all our concerts. It's really, really great. Just and she's that way, as you saw. I don't if you guys saw in the video clip, I literally stole the band. I said, hey guys, would you guys mind playing for me? And of course they did, at a very gracious family discount. So thank you guys. But they were so, nourishing as well. Like, yeah, it's been wonderful opportunities. And then I got to sing at her wedding, and I found myself in People magazine. I was like, who does that?
Well, you do.
Yeah. And that's what I like to tell, especially youth. It's like, this was my journey. It's abnormal. It doesn't always happen like this, but the point is that it can happen. And that's what you look for, and that you hold on to. Yes.
That's a good point. That really is. You just brought into musicians, and I always think about musicians and adapting, because with the chamber music, the different platforms that we have, the places that our youngsters young musicians are working. When you add dance to it or singing to it, or put it someplace else, it does change it. It transforms it. It's not that it's better or anything, it's different.
Yeah.
And as the person who's performing, you have to really trust that orchestra or that band behind you, and you have to work with them, and you also have to know what you're doing.
Yes.
Because they're usually professional, and you're not going to be able to pretend that you have to know what you're doing. So if you could talk a little to that, because the young people, they may be doing different kinds of things. A guitarist behind somebody, you're not just backup, you're a part of that.
Okay, so doing my own show, the first time I did my show, it was just me and a piano. And then when I did it at Birdland, it was a full band. I didn't realize how much support, how much lean on that the band is. Like, it's like, okay, you're doing your own show. Of course, if you've been doing it for 20, 30 years, whatever, you're just like, boom, 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 you don't recognize anymore. But it was so essential to have that, because literally you're singing obviously on top of everything. So you need that bottom. It's just like, it's a hug. Like, just literally like lifting you up, and like, one of those lifts. And even, when you do a show, and you have, you have piano, you're doing rehearsal, let's say, and
Yeah.
then you have that sits pro, and it just, it's in, I think Porgy and Bess was probably one of that just shaped, because you have piano rehearsal, and then the orchestra comes in. Yeah. And it's just, what? It's incredible. So I don't take, musician, hey, it's essential, and it just lifts. It literally does. It lifts every performance. And I totally I was like, okay, I'm so nervous. And then they just start playing, and we're easy. And if something's missed, or like I miss a verse, they're back on, yeah,
A trust. There's really a trust. And I think there's a trust between the musicians. We can't be looking at each other all the time. So people have to know.
Right.
And when you're dancing and singing, your body's going all, you need that music holds you up.
Yes.
It's there, and it's a trust. It's a really special element in getting the story out, telling that story.
And it really, like, even tempo. I'm thinking of After Midnight. We have this very fast song called Scrunch, and those dancers were, down, up, knees to the ground, and then popping up literally a second and a half later. And if that tempo was slightly too slow or slightly too fast,
ouch.
Yeah, literally, ouch. It's like, okay, you slowly get, okay, I can't hold this. And then, it's very, so it's like you said, it has to be a trust that the conductor, everybody has to be on the exact same page. It could turn disastrous, or it could just be simply heavenly. So,
and I think we come back to where discipline and really being responsible for your instrument, whether it's the band or the singer or the dancer in the body or all thing, that is what makes it work. That
right.
You work so hard, and you've learned it, and you take responsibility for it, and then you can unleash the real emotion and what the story's about, and what you want to say and what you want to do. But that discipline is it's vital.
It is.
That's vital. So, do you have like one lesson maybe that you thought, wow, that really made a difference in my life? Just something to share, that there was ever anything you learned that you thought, I'm not going to forget that.
So, 3 different points in my life. In college, when you're a senior, you have a director class. So you direct your own, like, 1-act show as a senior. So you take that directorial course. I was the only Black student. My freshman year, I was the only Black student in my class, and then there was one other Black student as a senior. So I got cast in a show. I think it was Dutchman. Like, it was essential that there was a person of color. So I got cast in that, and like that was it. And it was a lot of kids, so it's fine. And then I didn't get cast my sophomore year because they cast from the other classes. And I was like, okay, fine. And then I didn't cast my junior year. And I said, what's going on? And I've been in the school shows, the university shows. So me being me, I was like, hey, what's going on? Like, to the seniors, like, why anybody cast me in the shows? And like, well, you stand out. I was like, oh, because I'm Black? Is that why? I was like, no, Carmen. I just immediately like, why? Yeah. And they're like, well, we can't, if you're not a lead, we can't put you in the ensemble. I was like, I can blend. What are you talking about? And they're like, no. And so I went away with that. I was like, okay, whatever, fine. I left that alone. Then I was in, what was it? Sound of Music. And I was talking to a fellow nun and I talked to her about it because she went to my college, and she's like, you know what, Carmen, you have to decide if you're ensemble or a principal. And I said, okay, are you going to be okay jumping from show to show to show without being a lead or to work? Or are you going to be okay with intermittent casting? Because you're probably not going to get in every single show as a lead. And I said, okay. And then looking back on my body of work so that far, maybe I've done like 3 Broadway shows, maybe. And I was like, okay, I was either a lead or I was the understudy to the lead. And then I did another show, and somebody said like, oh, Guy, you're drawing focus. And I took offense to it.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I went to that person, I said, I wasn't trying to, she's like, oh my God, Carmen, once again, I get, Carmen, no. And I said, well, I wasn't trying to like, cancel, like, Carmen, have you seen yourself? You have this huge, expressive face. You have these lips, these eyes, like you're 5 foot, how tall are you? I was like, well, I'm 5'9". You're 5'9". The eye is going to go to you. And I had to realize that because I thought it was something like I was like doing too much, or like I said, drawing focus. And I had to understand that if I'm going to work in the industry, I'm going to be seen. Yeah. And I won't probably get a lot of jobs in the ensemble because of that. And I have to wait for shows that that really speak to me, or that are very unique, or that I create myself. Creole Love Call, I created that myself. Porgy and Bess was very specific for skills. Avenue Q was the weird off the show, off the cuff, raunchy puppet musical. You know what I mean? So if you look at it's like, oh, these are, and then, Hello Dolly, understudying, Dolly. So that all these were very specific, and it wasn't a generalization like, okay, this part can be played by anybody. It was for my type. And so I had that realization that I'm probably not going to work like this, like maybe some of my friends who are ensemble members, and like every show, like, oh, I'm in 12 shows. I'm like, oh, but when I am in something, it's the right show, and it's specific for me and what I bring to the table. So I had to learn that a couple times.
Interesting listening to you. What I'm taking that you learned was, again, to take responsibility for yourself, because one can say, oh, it's because I'm Black, and right. Sometimes it is. Mm-hmm. Argument there. But at which point do you say, okay, yes, I'm taking focus, and I'm going to have to live with that and live with the thing, because you don't want to give the power away. And I think that comes out of the lesson you learned is, I can live with this because I'm recognizing it. And you also listened to other people.
I did.
Walk away going, no, you're wrong. You listened.
College, I did. I was young and
well, everybody. It's like teenagers, come on, no. But at that moment, of course, you can't, because you're busy trying to live. It's later you have time to kind of assess the whole thing. But it is very important to listen. Listening, we learn a lot. We really and truly learn a lot. So I think that's. I have like 4,000 more questions, but we're getting a little late, and I don't know if there are any questions for you. Can anyone tell us? Because we have one more treat in store, and I don't want to miss that. Okay. So, John, do we have, Shauna, do we have any questions? Because.
Hi, sorry, took me a second. So I guess the thing that I was sitting here watching and listening to you talk, and so many times in your life, Carmen, it was women who helped you. And, with everything that's going on right now, and you see this, the challenges that are, women empowerment here, I just think it's incredible, because that's how I feel too. And it's this female connection and helping each other, because there's really no one path for any artist. And so it's not a question, just to say I am so happy that those women were there for you to support each other. Carmen's been a huge support also to my sister Erin, who's also, they met in Avenue Q. she's watching somewhere. So, you know, anyway, so all I just wanted to say is this has been so inspiring, and it just proves that really one person can make a difference in another's life. And
Totally.
for
Totally.
all the people that are watching, I just, you know, I feel like that's like our life lesson for tonight, you know, it's like, don't know, but it's so important. Mentors, you know, from women to women or men to women, whatever.
Just
Anyway, I'm
saying
just
the one, just saying that one thing, like I'm just when Lilias White told me something, Janet Jackson actually told me, she came, oh God, forgot about that. Janet Jackson came to see After Midnight, and she just took my hands and said, and I can't say what she said because I have to keep for myself the rest of my life. But the fact that she just said something to me, because she's an icon. I mean, Oprah, just this Oprah doing that to you. And then Bernadette Peters, don't you ever stop singing. It took 2 seconds to say that, but it meant the absolute world to me. Like it really did.
Yeah.
I think that's from all of this, that learning, number one, to listen, and to also the trust, knowing that people actually a lot of times mean well, and they do well, and they do care. And it's pretty extraordinary, you know? But this has been, for us, this has been totally wonderful, but I don't want to run out of time because we do have time for just that one last thing, right? This has been delightful, a joy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Really, thank you so much. It's just wonderful. And we're going to turn it over to John because, oh, I think there just might be a Creole love call somewhere in the offing. So thank you. And thank you to everybody who tuned in, because I think this was just probably just the best way to spend some time.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Over to John.
Yes. And that voice.
Such a ham.
So much fun. Thank you.
Just wonderful, just
Yeah.
wonderful,
Thank you,
gorgeous.
guys.
Thank you for such a lovely way to end such an amazing session.
Thank you for spending the evening with us. It was wonderful.
Yes, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. I truly do.
And likewise, so mwah, 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 virtual hugs and kisses to both of you. And thank you everyone for joining us.
And stay awesome and stay driving and stay encouraging these young people. You guys are fabulous.
Thank you, Carmen. Okay.
Bye.
Take care, everyone. Have a lovely evening.
Yes, too. You too.
Okay.